The tax and whatever. So it is more of enforcement now.
Kimya chake akiwa serikalini hakikukuwa cha bure. Alikuwa akipimia joto la serikali katika utendakazi wake. Ndindi Nyoro, mbunge wa eneo bunge la Kiharu, avunja kimya kuwa hakuwa akizungumzia masuala haya anayoyakemea kwa kinywa kipana alipokuwa mwenyekiti katika kamati ya bajeti bungeni. Kisa na maana.
In politics, you leave your seniors to talk about all the good things. Because even me as an MP, my CDF chairman leaves me to say all the good things about the work you are doing. And then, do I need to explain further? I think you've gotten. So, I want you to check all those, because many times I see people saying, hey, kwani wanaongea sahi? It's because of those reasons. Basically, collective responsibility then permitted, you have to let, you are not the head of government. You are just some chairman somewhere there. So we had to do that time. And I'm glad, and I'm sure, Bogo, you are glad that I've been there and I'm now here. Because at least now I can talk to you freely without having any issue of collective responsibility. And I am glad for this opportunity also, because it helps me to also inform Kenyans in an area I have been and I know. And I don't think it can get better than that. That it is the chef who is telling you about the menu and about the recipe.
Nyoro anashikilia kuwa swala la kukopa hela kupitiliza alikuwa akilikemea kila uchao wakati wowote walipokuwa wakikutana kwenye vikao mbalimbali, na kwamba wajuzi wa kila kitu hawakumsikiza wala kumhisi.
That meeting had all the decision makers around the finances of our country, including the CS National Treasury then, and including the PS who is still there now. And I want to confirm to Kenyans, in the meeting I was, we all declined this issue of securitization, because it was common knowledge to all of us that any money you borrow through securitization is a debt, and therefore cannot be treated separately as anything different. And therefore, I think that suffices. I was there, we could not.
Amehurumia benki za Kenya na kutilia shauku namna zitakavyotekeleza majukumu yake huru bila kuingiliwa na kiongozi awaye yote yule.
The government comes to the market, they borrow. This year they will likely borrow close to $1 trillion in the domestic market. Basically, that is money that could have gone to this industry and the other to enhance their production. So that money is no longer available to them because the government has taken it. Because as a banker, bankers choose the low risk, high return. Now, that is doing a lot of harm. Beyond crowding out, these are the issue of pending bills, is hurting the same banks that are majorly buying the government instruments. Because if you look at the NPLs in our commercial banking sector, you realize they are climbing up. So banks think one of their problems is being solved, yet a bigger one is being created on the side. Because you deny money to the private sector denies you money as banks. Because if you give me money, for example, to build this hotel as a bank, and I build it up to the point of just furnishing, and I come to you and tell you, top up my loan, I furnish the hotel. And as the bank, you say, no, the government is here, they want money. You may default, the government can't. So you deny me money. You give this money to government. So all the money I had borrowed from you to put up the structure, then I will not be able to pay you. So that is booked in the books of the banks, commercial banks, as an NPL. So on this one side, the commercial banks think they are taking advantage of the high appetite of borrowing locally, but on the other side, it is hurting them directly through NPLs, and especially when private sector cannot pay.
Kwa mujibu wa Ndindi, takriban shilingi bilioni 50 zimetengewa siasa pekee ili kuwatongoza wapiga kura.
What is fundamental between this year and last year, for example? If we have an increase of 200 billion, what is this so fundamental that we are doing this year that we were not doing last year, that we have added a budget of 200 billion? I want just to point to one thing. Why? Some of the money we are borrowing, Kenya doesn't actually not need it. Here they are experts in the economy. Go and check the budget that we are implementing today. And you realize Kenya has budgeted over 50 billion Kenya shillings for political management. Those who are here, they know what I mean, political management. The money you see being dished out is not grown. It comes from your pocket. And I want you to go check. One of the parameters I saw Kenya was to do last year was to do away with confidential fund. Go check how much money it is in all the areas that confidential fund is. And you realize the money we borrowed for Tatanta Stadium, we have also budgeted an equivalent money just for political management. Political management. I'm being diplomatic.
Nilipomuuliza kuhusu kubinafsishwa na kuuzwa kwa kiwanda cha Kenya Pipeline, hili hapa jawabu lake Ndindi Nyoro.
Reagan talked about privatization of Kenya Pipeline. There is something I want to put into perspective without going into details. The former president of Zambia was the late Edgar Lungu. The current president is called Hakainde Hichilema. Both two gentlemen are a product of privatization. The money they ended up having to be able to marshal a presidential bid, and both of them becoming presidents, they are products of privatization. One acted as a lawyer for many transactions. Go check who was a lawyer between the two. The other one used to work for the Big Four and ended up as a TA, transaction advisor. So privatizations are good when they are done without vested interest. When Kenya divests from any assets, it's good. But the problem with Kenya today is that there is a trust deficit. If you ask me, because I am glad to have had some experience in the capital markets. The stock market in Kenya may appear bullish now. Bullish because shares are going up. But companies are still grossly undervalued. Any bank that is listed in Kenya is worth less than a bank that is not listed, of equivalent profitability, of equivalent assets, of equivalent everything. Because the market is not very ripe to value companies upwards. Were it not for the trust deficit, the best route would have been to arrange for a strategic investor. Unfortunately, we may arrange for a strategic investor, and the person could be the one next to your table when you are discussing it. So privatization wholesomely is good, but we have to remove vested interest. And the best way to do it is this way. Whatever you value that company, it's okay. Value it even at 1 shilling. But sell all the companies to local individuals who are Kenyans. Then from there, you cut off all the price of any mischievous person. When you say, yes, we are privatizing this company, but we have no money to allocate companies or foreigners. We have only money to allocate verifiable Kenyans as individual shareholders. And then you put a cap that you can only invest not more than 1 million shillings in this offering. Then from there, utasikia hiyo, we postpone, we do this, then namna hiyo. Asante.
Lakini je, hela zinazotumika kutengeneza barabara na viwanja humu nchini zinatoka wapi na zitalipwa vipi? Ndindi Nyoro alipasua mbarika kwenye kikao cha kiamsha kinywa kilichoandaliwa na shirika la Institute of Public Finance maarufu IFP hapa jijini Nairobi.
We are borrowing 1.25 trillion every year, 100 billion every month, 3.5 billion shillings every day, around 145 million every hour, but every road you see in Kenya ongoing is not part of that debt. That is a different debt called securitization of fuel levy. So let no one tell you, we are borrowing this to build roads. No, the debt for building roads is not even there. We are borrowing that money, but when you ask, you'll be told, can't you see we are building even Tatanta Stadium? This is the point. The money for building Tatanta Stadium is actually not there. It is a different debt, not included in this mainstream debt. The other thing, so that, because it's the same, this issue of debt is big. Now, we want also to expand a lot of things to be seen for optics, as they are also good for the economy. The road from Nairobi to Nakuru is long overdue in terms of expansion. And the people who use that road deserve that road to be dualed. But even the money for dualing Nairobi-Nakuru highway, that money is also not part of the borrowed money, the 12 trillion. That is some other money we are raising through a baptized name called PPP. But that PPP is actually workers' money through NSSF. So NSSF is forced to invest workers' money on a commercial venture called a PPP to build a road from Nairobi to Nakuru. And they are told how to recover their money is to put toll stations, charge motorists, watapata pesa yao hapo.
Nyoro anarejea nyumbani kwake usiku leo akifahamu fika kuwa amewatoa Wakenya nta masikioni na kuwafungua macho wafanye maamuzi ya maisha wanayotaka kuyaishi na tabia za viongozi wanaotaka waongoze. Nikiripotia Mo Radio kutoka katika jiji kuu la Nairobi, jina langu ni Ronny Reagan.
Namna hiyo. Asante.
Mo Radio 88.2 FM. We are in charge.